morning. My name's Michael Frank. I am a systems implementer here at Computers Unlimited. And this morning we will be going over version 6 upgrade training on Customer Centric. We do have multiple users on the line with us today upgrading from either version 3.4 or version 4 to version 6 or above. Because of that, I will be covering all of the changes made from version 3.4 to version, through version 7. To ensure that we get through all of the material, I will be muting everyone's line and will allow for questions at the end of the training. If I cannot get to all your questions, you can email them to Sandy Barta, sandyb@cu.net, and she will make sure that a trainer gets back to you. So with that, I will go ahead and begin version 6 and above training on Customer Centric. What I'm broadcasting here for you is the version 6 menu. Access to Customer Centric can be obtained through a number of different ways from the menu. I could utilize the Browse Apps here. Could go into Browse Apps and pull in Accounts Receivable, Inquiry, and we've got Customer Centric there. I can search for it. And it's right there from my menu. Another way I could get there, and probably the quickest way to get there, is Customer Centric. Since it's such a widely used program, you can access it using this, what is referred to as a tile icon right here. So I'm going to click that, and that is going to run Customer Centric. Customer Centric is our all-in-one per customer inquiry tool for you to inquire on a mass amount of information on a per customer basis. Customer Centric in the higher versions of TIMS has directly replaced account inquiry. So if you're very familiar with account inquiry, you'll know that account inquiry does go away, and Customer Centric is going to be your tool for inquiring on customers. When Customer Centric opens, it's going to open just like this. Customer Centric is in our .NET programming, one of the newer programming languages that you're going to see throughout TIMS within this type of programming here. Primarily, you're going to have a menu over here on the left-hand side. Within your menu, you're going to have submenus. In this case, really the 4 different things you can inquire on a per customer basis: AR, cylinders, sales, and miscellaneous things. Within those submenus, you're going to have what are referred to as forms. And we're going to go into detail as to what each one of these different forms represents. Also here in Customer Centric, I do have a title bar, a menu bar here. I do have a small toolbar, not really used often, but there are some tools here that are available for you to use. In Customer Centric here, it's also going to give me the customer's billing and shipping information here. Just below that information here, you would have noticed when I first came into Customer Centric, it was a gray area. This is really my viewing area for me to inquire on something that I'm looking at. Also within Customer Centric, we do have the notes integrated right within Customer Centric. So any note that has the behavior to show in Customer Centric, you're going to be able to see that over here in the notes pane. Also some functionality here within my menu here. I can make the notes pane larger. I can unpin it using this push pin. I can do the same thing with my menu over here. If I wanted to unpin my menu, I could unpin that, and it gives me just a little bit more viewing real estate here on my screen. When I hover over the Menu tab and the Notes tab, I can pin it back down. A majority of these grids are going to have two sections here. You can also hover your mouse and make one section larger or smaller. Just some other quick functionality here that you can do that I'll show you quick here is when you have two tabs open here, if you right-click, you can view them vertically next to each other, or you could view them horizontally, one above the other. And to do that, I just did a right mouse click on the header when I had two tabs open to see them side by side. Now let's talk about what's available for you up here in the menu bar. File and edit are going to be kind of your standard file and edit windows with the respective hotkeys to do the functions. You may use the view to hide certain information on your screen. If you wanted to hide the customer information, you could uncheck this, and it's going to hide that customer information at the top. Maybe you don't need to see that. You could also hide your Explorer window. That's going to hide this menu here. Basically unpin it and hide that. You could hover over the tab and pin it back down. You could also hide the status bar. The status bar is going to be this little bar of information down here at the very bottom that has your system number, your site number, or your customer code for you at Computers Unlimited, and your username. It's hidden. We have a couple of things available for you here under Tools. Under Tools, I've got access to the customer lookup. We will talk more about the customer lookup here in just a few minutes. You also have access to Tag ID history. There's a Tag ID history icon right there as well. If you're a customer who uses our Advanced Cylinder Management Package, ACM, Tag ID history is a function where you can key in a cylinder tag ID or a manufacturer serial number, and it will show you all the history on that tag ID. Under Window here, it's going to list all the different tabs that I have open here right now. I just have By Invoice, so it's just listing one. If I had multiple forms here open, it would list all the different forms, and this is just a way for me to toggle between my forms. I could use this as a close all to just close all of my forms and clean up my screen. Last is under Help here. Under the Help, I have the Contents. The Contents really is just the online documentation for this application. So if you had a question within Customer Centric, you could call Computers Unlimited to get some assistance, or you could come to the Contents here and bring up the documentation and try and figure out what you're searching for. One of the forms that I'm going to be presenting to you today is going to be the Statements form. So if I wanted to get more information about the Statements form, I could type in Statements and go through here until I find what I'm looking for here. Statements form, and it's going to give me information about what is involved and done, used in the Statements form. And that's under Help. I could also hit my F1 key to pull up my contents. Just below that here, we've got the customer lookup. The customer lookup, you can really look up a customer within TIMS a couple different ways here. This first field here, this shorter field, this is where I can key in my customer code and it will pull in that customer. I can also use this large field here to do a customer lookup. When I hover my cursor over there, you can see that this is an auto search. So whatever I type in here, TIMS will make its best guess as to what I'm looking up. This is going to work great if you know like the phone number or something in the name to key in. And it's going to pull in that customer. We also have this little person icon with the magnifying glass here. This accesses the customer lookup. When I click on this, it's going to bring up my customer lookup. There's a number of different ways you can look up a customer by using the customer lookup and customer centric. The first few here are standard lookups that you'll have like in the customer file or in order entry. Auto, last name begins with, last name, comma, first name, phone contains, code begins with. We also have a name contains in here. If you know something in the name, you can key that in. Invoice number and order number equal to are a couple of common ways to look up a customer. PO number, something in the address, and if you're using our detailed statement program, you can also look up a customer by their detailed statement number. There is also a checkbox in here to search for active customers only. In TIMS, in the customer file, we have a flag that allows you to flag a customer as suspended. If a customer is flagged as suspended and you want to exclude that customer from a lookup, you could check this box here to only include those customers that are not suspended. Under Advanced here, you can decide, do I want to include billing records, just shipping records, or both? Also here, we're going to have a tab for additional filter criteria. Let me go ahead and change my lookup here. So I just did a wide open search. I can use this additional filter criteria to filter on top of what I've already looked up. For example, maybe I'm looking for customers with the address on 14th Street. I could key in something in the street or the city or the state, zip, contact information, or even branch, territory, or salesperson to look up my customer. It's also going to show result info or information about the highlighted customer here. Also down here, this grid is going to be in the .NET programming as well. I can sort by this grid. If I maybe wanted to sort by customer number, I could do that. You can see here that there's this source field indicates whether it's a billing record or a shipping record. I can search within this grid as well. And it's going to take me to wherever it finds that. So that is the customer lookup. I can double click or highlight and click OK, or just highlight and hit my Enter key to pull in that customer. Lastly, here in the customer lookup over here on the right-hand side, we do have this drop-down arrow. This drop-down arrow is going to list up to the last 10 customers that I've inquired on during my customer-centric session. Once I close out of customer-centric, this basically resets. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all of these different forms or things that you can inquire on a per customer basis. The first one is going to be receivables. Receivables solely deals with the customer's accounts receivable. So if you had questions or needed to inquire on their AR, their payments, their prepayments, their deposits, you can see that under the receivables. The first form here is going to be accounts receivable or receivables general. General is just going to give me a snapshot of this customer's AR information. I can see information like their account information, are they PO required or not. A lot of this information just pulling from the customer file. The account open date, salesperson. Down here I can see some order information. If they have a delivery charge code, what is that code? Pricing and price levels on tickets, as well as taxing information, the tax code, tax flag, etc. Credit information, do they have a credit limit? Yes or no? What's their available credit if they have one? Do they get a service or a finance charge, their highest AR balance? Have they gotten a Dunning letter? Average payment time, last pay date, last pay amount, as well as their default payment terms. And also any additional notes or comments that pulled directly from the customer file. This is also displaying AR aging information broken out in the respective 5 aging buckets. Current AR, 1 to 30 days past due, 31 to 60 days past due, 61 to 90 days past due, and 91 plus. This AR can be modified. If I wanted to see it 1 to 50 days, I can change these aging buckets to display the AR in a different manner. If this customer has a bill to ship to situation where they're separate ship tos where all the AR drives to the same bill to, I could look at specific AR for a ship to. This aging information will stay this way until I come here and I change it back. The next form here is going to be by invoice. By invoice is going to show me a summary line of this customer's AR by apply to number. What an apply to number you can think of is basically a document, basically a document type or document number, I guess, if you will. An apply to number is oftentimes the invoice number. If I apply a payment to that invoice, that payment is also going to have the same apply to number. By default, this is going to show current AR, so any AR that is sitting in your AR open. If you wanted to pull in AR history, you could go up to your source and select Include AR History. When you include AR history, that is going to pull in the AR. That does net to a $0 balance. Now, depending on how often your customer pushes, or how often you as an employee pushes your AR from current to history, would depend on how often this AR moves to history. Typically, it's done at month end, but some customers do it on, some of our customers do it on a daily basis. What you can see down here, if I select my apply to number, down here I can see it looks like I had an invoice. I then had a payment on that invoice. Also here you're going to have these icons here. I could click on this invoice icon here, and it's going to pull up the actual invoice that the customer would have received. In the TIMS document viewer. From here I could print it, I could email it out, or I could fax this document. I could also, if you have our imaging programming, you can click on this icon here and pull up the picking ticket. In this case, this one I believe is a mobile receipt, so that's what it's going to bring up, is the mobile receipt. That was printed off and given to the customer. The next one here is going to be details by document. Details by document is going to break this down by document number. So a document number may be an invoice, it may be a check number. Basically all of the details I saw down here are going to display in their own line on the details by document. Primarily what you're going to want to look at here is the type and the source to determine where this transaction came from. There is quite a bit of customization that you can do within Customer Centric. I'm going to go to my source and I'm going to hide my history here. But what I can do here is this grid here, wherever you see this grid within TIMS, typically you can customize that to display the information the way you want it to be displayed. For example, if I wanted to maybe move this type column, I could click on it and drag it, and I could drop it where I want it. I could even make these columns larger or smaller. There's a best fit icon. I could click the best fit icon to shrink and hide as much white space as it can. Maybe I want to move this column as well. I can hide columns here. If I go up here to my options or right-click on my header, I can select viewable columns. Maybe there's some columns here I don't need to see. Deposit date, detailed statement number, posted date. Maybe for my job role I don't need to see some of these fields. As I uncheck these, you'll notice this bar is getting bigger. It's because TIMS is hiding that data from my view. It's still there, it's just hidden from my view. So now I'm seeing a little bit less information. I can click and drag more columns here. Once I've customized this grid to look the way I want it to look, I could go up to my options and select Save Layout. This grid would look like this every time I came into the customer-centric by document form. If I want to reset my layout, I could reset my layout as well to set it back to how it was. We also have printable columns here. In TIMS, we allow you to print out this grid here by using this print icon here or this one up here. If you utilize one of those icons and you want to hide certain columns, you can hide those by using your printable columns here. I can search within here. This particular line of AR has a note tied to it, so if I click on that note, it's going to show the note here. I could also sort on these columns. If I wanted to sort by document date, if I click on that header, it's going to sort by that header or that column. I could apply a filter. Maybe if I want to apply a filter, I could apply a custom filter or filter on some of the data here. Maybe I want to see only the AR with a range of, let's go to September 1st to today. It's only going to show that AR with the document date of that date range. I could filter on another column. Maybe I only want to see original invoices. So there's my original invoices. You can also apply these filters by using this filters icon here, or I could click on that to see what filters are applied. If I want to undo my filters, I could just hit this Reset Filters icon. I could also select a number of invoices here. I'm going to hold my Control key and select a couple of invoices. If I select one of these icons here, these would allow me to print, fax, or email the invoices. You can see here that it pulls the to email address from the customer file, and the from email address comes and is tied to my username. Both can be changed. It also will attach those invoices as a PDF to this email. I could key in a subject line and a free-form message. That's some of the customization that you can do within Customer-Centric and other places within TIMS. The next form here is going to be payments. Payments is going to show me any current payments that have been on this customer's account. If I go to the source, I could include payment history. One thing that's nice about payments here is if I go to my source and I key in a check number in this document number field here, this icon will become available for me right here. If I click on that and I had multiple customers that paid on this check number, I would be able to see that. Down here at the bottom, it's going to show payment details. I can see the cash batch, who entered it, and the username they entered it under. Prepayments, if you're using either TIMS credit card integration and or cash through order entry, you may have prepayments show here on this prepayments tab. What a prepayment is if you take cash, typically in a back order situation, that cash will post to TIMS as a prepayment. If you take cash when the sales order total is 0, when the nightly runs, that cash will post as a prepayment. Then, when the back order comes in and that order gets fulfilled, the prepayment then will convert to a payment on that line, setting an offset here in the prepayments area. You can see those prepayments right here. And the last one here is going to be any deposits. If you've taken something like a deposit part number within TIMS, maybe a cylinder deposit or whatever you use deposits for, those deposits will also show up here. When you refund the deposit, it's also going to show another line from when you refunded the deposit. So that is accounts, or I guess receivables, within Customer Centric. I'm going to go up to a window and I'm going to close off to clean up my screen. I guess one thing I could show you here real quick, if I've got a number of different tabs open here, if I come up here and I change my customer, it's going to update all of the data on the tabs. Oh, it didn't like that. Well, we'll just go ahead and we'll pull up Customer Centric again here. All right. For some reason, it's not wanting to pull up Customer Centric, so give me just a second here and I'll get it pulled up again. Every once in a while, whenever you see an error message, if it does pop up like that on your screen, you'll always want to hit the send button and make sure you send those to Computers Unlimited. We do monitor those errors as best we can to track which ones are occurring the most frequently, and we definitely use the frequency that those get sent to determine priority in terms of what would get programmed. Okay, so the next part of Customer Centric that I'd like to talk about is going to be the cylinders information within Customer Centric. The first form here is going to be Cylinders General. Cylinders General is going to show me just miscellaneous information about this customer's cylinder rent. What's their tracking method? Are they balance forward, ACM, serial number? What information prints on their forms? Are they taxed on rent or leases? Rent code. Do they get detail summary or no invoice? What's their default rental period? Just miscellaneous information. Typically, most all this pulling from the cylinder tab of the customer file for this customer. The next one here is going to be Cylinders Current. Cylinders Current will show any current cylinder balances that are on this customer's account, as well as leases, if they have any leases. I can see the gas price. The gas price actually pulls from the inventory file. The rental rate. Current is going to show this information by rent group and by item. I can see the beginning balance, current ships, current returns, and ending balance. Current ships and current returns are going to be ships and returns within this month, less leases for a net cylinder balance. As long as all of your leases offset cylinders that the customer has here, technically this net balance here should be the balance that the customer is paying for cylinder rent. I can also see details down here, down at the bottom. In this case, this looks like there was just a balance forward record here for this customer. If there were ships and returns, you would be able to see those details down here. Next is going to be rent summary. Rent summary is going to show me the same information, but it's going to be by rent group rather than by part. So quickly I can see here for rental group 20, I had one beginning balance, one ending balance, and 26 leases for this rent group right there. I can also see group details down here. I can also see cylinder history here. Cylinder history is going to break it out by part number initially. I can sort this on any column if I want to see the customer's cylinder history by say, invoice date. Again, it'll show the cylinder details here, the tracking method, the rent code, and the exempt code if they were in fact exempt from cylinder rent. I also have a form here for leases. This will show any current leases that are on this customer's account, active or inactive. I can see the lease item, the start and expiration date, the term of the lease, how many periods in months are in the lease, the rate, as well as my quantity here. Down here at the bottom, I can see some details like the remaining months on this lease, the monthly rate that they'd be paying, in this case of accruals, and the new rate. All right, and that there is cylinder information about this customer. The next group of information here is going to be sales information. Sales information is going to contain any sales history or order history that this customer might have. So if I click orders here, orders is going to show me any current orders that this customer has. This customer has a lot of current orders in this display database here. I can see my order number. I could also come up to my order source and include order history if I wanted to. How I can tell the difference between orders current and order history is the source here. A C represents current. When I get down here, you'll see it starts to show H's. H's represent history. Typically, historic orders are always going to have a status of completed. You may also see a status of selected, meaning the order is in a selected state and should post tonight. You may also see a status of new, meaning it's just a current open order, unselected. If you're using our UPS, the UPS tracking programming, you'll see this package icon here if the package went through UPS, where you could click on this and it would pull up the UPS World Ship website for you to track this item. I can also see a lot of information about this order. Was any cash received, the ship via, order type, lots of information, tax code on this order. Down here at the bottom, I could see order line details. I've also got a single tab here that I can click on. The single tab will show header information from the order, information that was on the order the last time it was filed, as well as any line information and line item details and tax details for that line. We also have a form here for sales history. There's 2 tabs on sales history. Month-to-date and year-to-date information you're going to get on the general tab here. We also have a tab here for life-to-date. Life-to-date is going to show me total sales history by part number and location. This is a great place to apply maybe filters or things like that. If I wanted to see rental sales history, I could maybe pick the supplier that pertains to rentals to see all of those. Could filter on invoice date. Filters work great here on the sales history. With line item details down here at the bottom. You can see gross margin, order line, and date. So that's sales history. The next one here is going to be sales and cost. This data isn't 100% accurate right now, but what you can see here is you can see total sales or cost or margin information by either fiscal year. The last clear date was in September, by fiscal year, or by and previous fiscal year, or by the previous 12 months from the last clear date, and the 12 months prior to that. What graph data do you want to look at? Do you want to look at sales? Do you want to look at cost, a difference, or a margin? It also shows all of that information down here in a grid at the bottom. Here's all my sales and cost information broken out by month. If you are an employee that cannot see cost within TIMS, you would not, unfortunately, be able to see cost here either. So you'd just be able to see sales. I can see last year's sales, last year's difference, as well as previous month and year. The last one here is going to be invoices. Invoices is going to show every invoice, whether it was a cash invoice, a finance charge invoice, any invoice that's ever been generated for this customer. Also, if there's a picking ticket involved with that, you could also pull up the picking ticket right here. I can see the order number as well as what type of invoice it was. If there was a PO on there, I could see the PO as well. Okay, the next and final submenu here is going to be under miscellaneous. Miscellaneous is going to contain, really anything that we couldn't fit in the above submenus is going to be under here under miscellaneous. The first one is going to be rental activity. Rental activity is going to list any rental equipment activity that this customer has with you. First tab here is activity. This is going to show all activity for rentals that this customer has ever had with rental details down below. I can see the start date, the part, the end date, when the order was added and the time. Just a lot of information about each rental that this customer's had. A status, is it a posted, is it open, is the agreement completed? For a highlighted rental, I could see the rental agreement here. And I could come to rentals here to see any current active rentals that this customer has. Again, rental equipment is what displays under rental activity. If you do not use our rental equipment package, you wouldn't see anything under there. The next one here is under customer pricing. Customer pricing is a great place to come and see a quick price what a customer would pay for a certain item. This price would not include things like delivery charges, taxes, or fees, but it would be a quick way rather than going through and placing an order to figure out what a customer would pay for an item. It does include things like contracts and price levels. I'm going to key in a part number here. When I key in a part here, I can see that this customer pays $2.50 for this item, and they have a regular contract at all locations for this item. I could also, if quantity breaks applied, I could key in a quantity, and that would tell me the total price if I had quantity breaks, or this customer had quantity breaks. The next form here is going to be contracts. Contracts is going to show any contracts or special pricing that this customer has with you. If a contract price is above list price, it's going to display in blue like this one here. Down here at the bottom, I can see the list price is $54, but the contract price is $75. They would pay a higher price than list price. If the contract price is below cost, it's going to display in yellow. In this case, replacement cost is $10. Contract price is $9.50, so you're losing money selling this customer this item. For each contract here, I can see the margin. I can see the last time it was changed. Is there a multiplier? If it's a product category contract, you can see the details for the product category. It looks like this is a gross margin product category contract. I've got a tab here to see the items that are in that product category that apply. If it's a master contract, if this customer is mastered to another customer, and I select the master contract, I get this additional tab up here to click and see all of the contracts that the master customer has. And the last form here within miscellaneous is going to be statements. Now, this particular type of statement you may not recognize. This statement is generated from our Print Summarized Statements program within TIMS. Typically, TIMS CU services the medical industry and the industrial industry. This is going to be a little bit more detailed of a statement than what your customers typically get now through the Print Statements program. So if you're just doing the print statement, which is the typical industrial statement, you're not going to see anything here under statements. You can always, as a company, generate statements on the fly for your customers if you use the Print Statements program. These statements are going to be more used by our medical customers, not to say that they can't be used by our industrial accounts, but when those statements are generated and then printed from the spool file, they display here under statements. The last thing I want to talk about here within Customer Centric is going to be the notes. So Customer Centric is pretty much solely inquiry only. However, if you do have the ability to add, change, or delete notes, you can do that here in the Notes pane of Customer Centric. Any notes that have the behavior to show in Customer Centric will display right here. I can sort by date. I could sort by user. I could add a note here. I gave it a behavior. One thing you'll notice if you attend the notes training later today is behaviors are really important for notes to do what you anticipate them to do. And that note is now on the customer's account. I could even so much as delete notes if I had the ability to do so. All right, and that there is customer-centric. This morning I went through the customer lookup. We went through all of the different forms or different things that you can inquire on a per customer basis. We talked about customizing your grids within customer-centric to display the information the way you want it to be displayed. We also talked about the notes and how, as long as you have the appropriate authorizations, you can utilize, change, delete, add notes right through customer-centric. All that being said, are there any questions on anything I showed you this morning on customer-centric? If so, please raise your hand or key in your question and I can answer it when I see that. The big changes, I guess, that you may have noticed here, especially if you're upgrading from version 3, 4, or 4, and you did use customer-centric, is really the fact that by invoice used to be summary, now it's by invoice. By document used to be details, and now it's by document. And here, the sales history is now just one form, where before it was month to date and year to date. I guess another mention is we do have an option AR 150 allows you to see unposted AR or like unposted cash in the receivables submenu within customer-centric. All right, I'm not seeing any questions. Again, if any questions do come up, please send those to Sandy Barta, sandyb@cu.net. She will make sure that a trainer gets back to you. Other than that, you're free to go. I hope everyone has a great day. I may be speaking to you later today. Have a wonderful morning. Thanks for attending this November session on customer-centric.